Jim, there's an old saying that goes, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. And St. Louis hasn't had a jobs plan, a comprehensive economic plan for a decade now. And it has been a failure in many ways. I mean, St. Louis has had very measly economic growth over the last 10 years. We've got all kinds of problems that have come to the fore that haven't been addressed. And we're finally addressing that. The new Greater St. Louis Inc., which is a merger of 5 civic organizations, has just put out a STL 2030 jobs plan, and it's ambitious, and I think it could put the region back on the right track.
I have a different view on that. I think that when the Post-Dispatch newsroom reopens and COVID is gone, you will take this plan and you will put it on the top of the stack of other plans about how to reform St. Louis that have gone nowhere. The fact is that the people behind this plan, Greater St. Louis, have absolutely no authority to put it into practice. That authority lies with thousands of executives at hundreds of companies who would have to sign on to do things like hire in St. Louis rather than hire in Charlotte, as Centene is doing, to open a plant in St. Louis rather than open a plant in China, where Emerson Electric does a whole lot of its business. And they're just not going to do that. The business community here is about making money, not about growing St. Louis.
Well, there is in the late 1990s and early 2000s, we did have some economic plans, some jobs plans that did bear fruit. I mean, around that time period, the regional chamber took an industry clusters approach, and that was kind of the beginning of what we have now with our biotechnology cluster, our agribusiness cluster around the Danforth Plant Science Center. A lot of investment has gone in there. A lot of businesses have moved here from elsewhere, and capital has flowed into those industries. It was, we had some of the assets before, but once the plan was in place, people started focusing resources on those assets.
There have been some minor successes. Certainly, the Cortex business.
Yes, that's another one.
The Cortex technology area is a success. That's because the universities and the hospitals got behind it, and the city cooperated with it. You've had the Danforth Plant Science Center. That's a success, of course. But overall, a major transformation, a major growth of jobs because of this plan, I don't see it.
Well, we still need some, we need to fix some problems, but if we don't have a plan, how do we get there? That's the question. I mean, are you just saying those investments by companies would just happen?
Yeah, I mean, companies invest where they think they can make money, and if they think they can make money in St. Louis, this is where they'll put the investment. If they think they have an adequate trained workforce here, this will they'll place the investment. If they think they can get capital here, that's where they'll place the investment. And all of those things are decisions that are beyond Greater St. Louis. They're individual decisions made by business.
Well, but I think the civic leaders can influence some of those decisions by where they put resources. This plan talks about marshaling, sort of philanthropic resources and patient capital behind things like an advanced manufacturing center near Rankin Tech that would in some ways do for manufacturing what the Danforth Plant Science Center does for agriculture. It
Sure.
It brings some cutting edge research, and you'll get businesses and jobs spinning out of that.
Well, government can help around the margins. You can set up incubators. You can make land.
Well, this isn't government necessarily. Yeah. I mean, government has a role to play, but this isn't. This isn't primarily about advising government on what to do. This is, this is the private sector saying this is where we think St. Louis can grow, and this is how we're going to marshal resources to get there.
And I, as a business operator, are going to put aside my parochial interest in making as much money as I can to do an economic favor for Greater St. Louis. I don't think you're going to get many.
No, of course you're not.
Yeah.
But if you're a business that already has hundreds or thousands of employees in St. Louis, you're going to realize that you have a stake in making this and keeping this an attractive place for them to live and work. So you're going to you're probably going to make at the margin some of those investments just in your own self-interest as well as in the greater metro area's interest.
Well, in terms of cooperation, we note that this plan is already picking up some objections. For instance, one thing it tries to get businesses to pledge to make investments in the core city. Out in St. Charles, Steve Ellman, the county executive out there, is already saying, "Hey, what about us out here in suburbia?" He
right. Well, and I talked to Ellman, and he says he wants his comments to be seen as constructive criticism. He says he was asked for input, and he's pretty blunt when he writes a letter. He used some language like he didn't want us to be rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, so sort of thing. Which
City of St. Louis has the Titanic.
Yeah, exactly. But he's raised some good points, and I think has made the Greater St. Louis Inc. folks realize that they need to have to get all regional voices in on this conversation, and they were the plan that exists today. They always said this is only a draft. They're seeking public comment through January, and they told me they revise it and update it to reflect some of Ellman's issues.
Well, the ink was barely dry on this report when we find out that Centene, the major business in Clayton that just put up a new headquarters, is delaying or possibly canceling its second phase because Mr. Neidorf, who runs Centene, is worried about crime.
Right. Well, and that's not new because Neidorf issued kind of a broadside in interviews with me and others this summer. Said he was expanding in Charlotte instead of St. Louis because the crime and the perception of high crime made it hard to recruit talent to St. Louis. So that was clearly coming, and I think that's one of the factors that led to the civic merger to form Greater St. Louis. It's kind of, he issued a call to action. He quit Civic Progress, the old club of CEOs, and I think that sent a message. Now that said, crime is not even mentioned in this jobs plan, and I've been told that that's it's beyond the scope. This is a jobs plan. It's not a fix everything that's wrong with St. Louis plan. Obviously, those conversations about crime and policing have to happen.
Well, here you have obviously a major CEO who's not ready to sign on to this pledge that the Greater St. Louis is asking all the businesses to sign on to grow jobs here. And I think his complaint about crime is a bad rap. If you look at the metro area as a whole, crime rate here is about average. It's high in the city, but Centene isn't in the city. It's in Clayton, which has a very low crime rate.
Right. That's an issue. But if the city has a high crime rate, that certainly gets reported, gets known nationally. It does affect the perception of the area, and as this jobs plan points out, we need to reinvigorate the urban core, and to do that, I think we're going to have to solve some problems, including crime and including education. But this plan won't do all of that, but I think it can direct some investments into places where they can be productive.
So you're going to keep this plan on your desk rather than put it way up on the top of the stack, do you think?
Yeah, there are a lot of ambitious things in this plan, including some targeted resources for diverse entrepreneurs, including this manufacturing center that I mentioned. It's going to be, and I think we'll have to hold Greater St. Louis Inc. and the business community accountable to see how much progress they make toward those goals.